New data shows job vacancies in the US that require prior COVID-19 vaccination are surging. The number of such job listings on the website Indeed.com went up by nearly 120% in August compared to the previous month. Job postings that require vaccination but don't specify COVID went up even more, by more than 240%. The overall proportion is still less than 1%. Chris Hyams is the CEO of Indeed. He joins us via Skype from Austin, Texas. Thanks for joining us. I mean, what is the standard way of thinking that's emerging here, do you think?
Yeah, look, it's an extraordinary time for the labor market, and we've had a front row seat with the hundreds of millions of people who come to Indeed every month to get jobs or to hire. And the headline remains, with more than 8 million US people still unemployed, the labor market is still incredibly tight. Employers are eager to hire, but job seekers are still very cautious. And we listen to job seekers very carefully, and we hear empirically the top two reasons that millions of people are still staying back from the labor force are related to COVID. Number one is the concern for their own exposure at work. And number two is the access to childcare. And school reopenings right now in the US have been very shaky due to the rise of Delta.
It's a difficult one for employers, isn't it, when they have a situation where they don't want to force people to take a vaccine. If they're genuinely concerned about taking vaccines, they might have a reason to do that, but they also have to consider the other members of staff and the risk they're exposing them to. So, where does legality come into this? Where does insurance come into this? What sort of commercial decisions are employers having to make?
Well, the new directive from the White House gives people the choice between requiring vaccinations and requiring testing. And the big focus for employers is they need to be able to make potential workers who are staying on the sidelines feel safe. And we know that requiring vaccinations is one of the things that will get people back into looking for jobs, but the other is being able to actually keep people safer and be able to make schools safe for reopening. So the people who have been staying back, especially mothers who have been staying back at much higher rates than any of the other groups, to be able to allow them to come back to the workforce safely.
We saw a lot of the benefits that existed during the pandemic have all been stripped away right now. Do you expect that to translate into lower job vacancies over time? Because we've seen when some states got rid of these benefits, it didn't really translate very quickly, did it?
Yeah, we did not see any impact at all. So obviously the benefits mostly lapsed after Labor Day. But when the states first announced that they were going to be removing them, we saw a very brief increases in searches for job seekers that lasted about 3 or 4 days and then went back to normal. We've seen similar growth in job postings for states that cut off early and those that didn't. What we are seeing is that employers are incredibly eager to hire. So the benchmark for us of measuring the demand for labor is the number of new job postings on Indeed. And what we just announced this morning, the numbers we're seeing, 41% more open jobs today than our pre-pandemic benchmark of February of 2020. And this is happening in multiple sectors that have been strong throughout. But we are definitely seeing that employers are going to need to be able to reach out to job seekers and to offer them the flexibility that many of them are seeing for the first time throughout the pandemic, in terms of being able to have time to go pick up their kids or take care of family members, and also through increased wages and other things to help incent them to come back.
Lots of anecdotal evidence as well that people are coming out of lockdown effectively being told they have to go back to work, or just expecting to go back to work very fairly. But they've had a bit of a life crisis as well, and they don't want to go back into the rat race, if I can call it that. I mean, is that a big trend that people are going off trying to change their lifestyles altogether, and is that causing a challenge to businesses?
Yeah, so clearly we're seeing some backlog from 2020 when not a lot of people actually left their jobs because there was so much uncertainty. But what's being called the great resignation right now, you have this pent up demand over the last year and a half, but you also have a whole host of people who've had really time to consider what's most important to them. We are seeing an active drop. So from August to September, there was a 10% drop in the people who are actively searching for jobs. Almost all of that drop came from people who are currently employed. And so the people who are unemployed are still looking at the same rates, but still holding back for those same reasons. When it comes to remote work, we believe that the people who've had the opportunity to see this, that this is really an option that's going to be here to stay. The total searches for remote jobs is double what it was prior to the pandemic. The total job postings that mention this is double. It is still a small part of the population, though. Just about a third of all jobs in the US allow for some type of remote work.
It's interesting. Chris Hyams, CEO of Indeed. Thank you very much indeed for joining us on the program.